Hello children, today we are going to revise the lesson, revise all the lessons which are coming in half-yearly exams. First we are going to take nutrition in animals. Children, what are the various steps involved in nutrition of animals? First is ingestion, second is digestion, third is absorption, then assimilation and egestion. Now nutrition in amoeba, we are going to discuss how amoeba takes its food. The unicellular amoeba, as we know, it is single-celled structure. The unicellular amoeba engulfs tiny particles of food by throwing its false feet known as pseudopodia around it. The pseudopodia join together to form a small cavity known as food vacuole. The food inside the vacuole is digested by digestive juices. It is then absorbed and assimilated there to provide energy and perform other functions. Now children, nutrition in spider. A spider weaves a sticky web in which small insects get stuck. It then injects digestive juices into the body of the insects, which digest the body parts of the insect. Thus, the digestion of a spider's food actually take place, outside the spider's body. Then the spider sucks up the digested food. Now we are coming to the human being. Digestion takes place in the alimentary canal, the different parts of an alimentary canal, the mouth, food pipe, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum and anus. The main digestion starts in mouth, where the saliva is secreted by salivary gland, and this saliva converts the sugar present in the food, starch present in the food, it converts it into sugars that are easier to digest. Then the food goes to the esophagus. Here the peristalsis movement takes place. The esophagus leads from our mouth to the stomach. It is made up of muscles. These muscles gently push food down to our stomach in a wave-like action that is called peristalsis movement. And no digestion takes place in esophagus. Now the food then comes into the stomach. It is J-shaped. Food stays in the stomach for a few minutes to few hours. It depends on the type of food we have consumed. The inner lining of stomach secretes mucus, hydrochloric acid and digestive juices. What is the function of mucus? The mucus protects the inner lining of the stomach. Inner lining of the stomach. The acid kills, hydrochloric acid is secreted by the stomach. This acid kills bacteria that enters along with the food and also help in digestion of proteins. The stomach muscles, they squeeze and mix the food with digestive juices. The digestive juices break down protein into simpler substances. Now children, we are going to discuss digestion in small intestine, where the final digestion takes place. Here liver and pancreas, they secrete the juices and they pour their juices in the small intestine. The liver secretes bile juice, which is stored in gallbladder. The bile breaks up fats into tiny droplets that can be digested and absorbed more easily. The digestive juices then act on these tiny droplets to form simpler compounds known as fatty acids and glycerol. Okay. Pancreatic juice. Pancreas secretes pancreatic juice that changes starch into simple sugars and proteins into simpler compounds called amino acids. Okay. Now children, what are ruminants? Ruminants are hoofed plant-eating animals that digest their food in two steps. First, the food that is swallowed goes into the first chamber called rumen. Here it is partially digested and is called cud. It then goes to the second chamber from where it is returned to the mouth for thorough chewing. This process is called rumination, and such animals are called ruminants. Okay, children? Now we are coming to the next chapter, structure of matter. Okay, structure of matter. First, what is the difference between elements and compounds? At first, we are going to discuss elements. A substance made up of only one kind of atoms that cannot be broken down into simpler substances by chemical method is called an element. And what are compounds? A substance formed by the chemical combination of two or more elements in fixed proportion is called compound. Okay, example of element like hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, etc. Compound like water, H2O, carbon dioxide, HO2. Now come to the atom and molecule. Difference between atoms and molecules. What are atoms? Atom is the smallest particle of an element that can take part in chemical reaction. It may or may not exist independently. Molecules. A molecule is the smallest particle of an element or a compound that can normally exist independently. Now come to the mixture and compound. Difference between mixture and compound. Children, I am going to discuss three differences between mixture and compound. First, compound. Constituents are combined together chemically. In case of mixture, constituents are not combined chemically but physically only. Second, ratio of constituents in compound. Ratio is fixed, but in mixture, ratio is not fixed. Now, separation of constituent in compounds. We can separate it but by chemical methods. In mixture, we can separate the constituent by physical methods. Properties. They have properties different from in compound. What happened? The compounds properties are different from their constituents. But here in mixtures, properties are those of their constituents. Okay. Children, now we are going to discuss formula, how to make formula, and formula of magnesium chloride. How are we going to make magnesium chloride? First step, we are going to write down their symbols. Magnesium Mg, chlorine. Okay. Now second step, we will write their valencies. Mg2Cl1. Next step, we are going to cross it. 1 will come here, as we do not write 1 because Mg itself showing it is 1. And Cl2. So this is the formula of magnesium chloride. How to balance the equation? Next is how to balance the equation. When zinc reacts with hydrochloric acid, it gives zinc chloride plus hydrogen gas. Here, how many zinc are there? 1. How many hydrogen? 1. How many chlorine? 1. Zinc 1, chlorine 2 and hydrogen 2. So we need to make it 2. Here we are going to write down 2. Hydrogen is now 2. Chlorine is 2. So it is a balanced equation. Okay, children? Now we are going to discuss heat, effects of heat. What are the effects of heat? Heat causes increase in temperature. Heat causes change of state. Heat causes expansion. Heat causes chemical changes. Heat affects living organism. Like solid, liquid and gases, all three things like matter, these are the three forms of matter: solid, liquid and gases, all they expand on heating. Solids, they show liquid expands more than solid on heating, and the gases expand more than liquids and solid on heating. Okay, so we can use this or in daily life we can see this, we experience this, and sometimes we use this expansion, like in case of automatic fire alarm. This expansion in solid, we can use this property. We can make automatic fire alarm. How this fire alarm works, I am going to tell you. The alarm contains two metal strips, one of iron and the other of brass. Firmly bolted together, brass expands more than iron on heating. Therefore, when this bimetallic strip gets heated because of fire, it bends on the side of iron. As it bends, the circuit of the electric bell is completed. The bell starts ringing to give the alarm. As the fire is put out, the strip gets cooled and straightens again. Children, why in railway, why do we leave gaps in railway tracks? The reason behind is, during summer, the iron expands. To allow this expansion, space has to be left between two sections of the rail tracks. If this is not done, expansion of the tracks can cause them to bend. This can cause serious accident. So this expansion we can use in various like in bridges also, in fixing bridges also, in various places we can apply this. Now children, we are coming to the temperature. We know upper fixed point in Fahrenheit scale is 212 degree Fahrenheit and lower fixed point is 32 degree Fahrenheit. In Celsius scale, upper fixed point is 100 degrees Celsius and lower fixed point is 0 degree Celsius. We can convert these scale. We can convert Fahrenheit to degrees Celsius and degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit. One example we are going to discuss. Convert 86 degree Fahrenheit into degree Celsius. Okay, which formula we are going to apply? C is equal to 5 upon 9 F minus 32. F 5 upon 9, F is 86 minus 32, 5 upon 9, 4, 3 out of 8, 54, 9 was a 9, 6 is equal to 30 degrees Celsius. So 86 degree Fahrenheit is equal to 30 degrees Celsius. Same way we can convert degree Celsius into Fahrenheit by applying other formula. The formula is what for Fahrenheit? F is equal to 9 upon 5 into C plus 32. Suppose our degree Celsius is 30. We have to convert it into degree Fahrenheit. 30, 5 ones are 5, 5 6 are 9 6 are 54, 54 plus 32 is equal to 86 degree Fahrenheit. Okay. And what precautions we can take while measuring the temperature by clinical thermometer? What is the function of kink? Kink, as we know, it the level of mercury in the stem remains the same because of kink. Okay, children. Now our next topic is flow of heat. How conduction takes place in solids. Okay, conduction is the process of transfer of heat in which heat travels from molecule to molecule in conduction. okay, to molecule from the hot end towards the cold end. The molecules themselves do not travel from one end to other. And what are for transferring the heat, what two things are important in this process conduction? The two objects, they are supposed to be in contact and their temperature are not the same. Then the conduction will take place. And in conduction we know conduction takes place in material which are, like we call that good conductor of heat, like metals. Okay, they are in metals the conduction takes place, but in some substances conduction cannot take place, and we call those substances insulators. Okay, material which allow heat to be conducted through them easily are called good conductors. Material which do not allow heat to be conducted through them easily are called bad conductors or insulators. Okay, now applications, very important. Go through all the applications. Why refrigerators have double walls with the space inside, and the space inside the refrigerator we fill that with insulating material to prevent the heat of the surrounding from reaching the inside of the refrigerator. And why do we wear woolen clothes in winter? And during very cold winter night, two thinner blankets, one on top of the other, are more effective. So these are the application we must know. Now convection. What is convection? Convection is the process of transfer of heat in which the molecule heat up and it moves. Okay, heated molecules of a liquid or gas themselves move to carry heat from the hot region to the hotter region to the colder region. And children, example of convection is sea breeze and land breeze. How sea breeze and land breeze work? Like as I told you in the class, there, this is sea, this is land. Okay, sea and land breeze. This is what because of convection current. As we know that they are heating, like they heat up, they are getting the same amount of heat, but water takes a longer time to heat up than the time taken up by the land. Okay, and water takes longer time to cool down than the land. So what happened during the day? Land heats up more than water. The air over the land becomes hotter and lighter and rises up. The air from the sea, which is cooler and heavier, rushes to take the place created by hot rising air. Okay, so these hot air move up and cold air, they take the place, and this is called what? Sea breeze blows during the day. During the night, land loses heat faster than water and becomes colder. And the air over the sea is now warmer in comparison to the land. It rises up. So in night, what happened? Warm air, it rises up, and the cold air from the land takes the place. The air over the seas is now warmer, it rises up, and the cooler air over the land rushes to take its place. Thus we observe land breeze at night. Now children, we are going to devise one device, that is thermos flask. Thermos flask is a device in which all three things takes place. As we know, it is double walled structure. Okay, from between this we remove the air from this is inner wall, this is outer wall, and we remove the outer wall and we create the vacuum here. Okay, So the vacuum between the two glass walls of the thermos flask considerably reduces the flow of heat by conduction and convection. Because of this vacuum, what happened? What two things cannot take place? Conduction and convection. Conduction and convection, because both they need medium. Okay, it will not take place because no molecule is present there. And how can we reduce radiation? The inner wall is polished by silver. So silver color is a good reflector. Whatever the heat goes to the wall, it reflected back by the wall. So this way, okay, the silver surface reflect the heat back, thus reducing radiation. This way the liquid present in the flask remain hot or cold for a long time. Now children, what are acids? What are bases? We are going to discuss what are salts. Okay, acids they are sour in nature. Okay, acids have a sour taste. Acid turns blue, litmus red. All acidic solution conduct electricity, and acids are corrosive in nature. What are bases? A base has chemically opposite properties as compared to an acid. Bases can neutralize an acid's acidity. Metal oxides, hydroxides, carbonates and bicarbonates are example of bases. And children, what are alkalis? Bases which can dissolve in water are called, which are soluble in water, are called alkalis. All alkalis are bases, but all bases are not alkalis. Okay, what are salts? When acid reacts with a base, they neutralize each other's chemical properties and form salt and water. Acha, how can we test it with the acid or base? We can test whether the substance is acid or base by indicators. There are two types of indicators. One are natural, like turmeric. Litmus paper is also natural. Okay, China rose, purple cabbage, all are natural indicators. And methyl orange, phenolphthalein, they are synthetic indicator. They what did they do? Like if we talk about natural indicators, turmeric turns acid into pale yellow color. Acid turns turmeric to pale yellow color, and bases they turn turmeric to deep red color. Methyl orange turns red in acidic solution and yellow in basic solution. So by color change we come to know whether the substance is acidic or basic in nature. Now children, what is neutralization reaction? When acid reacts with base, it gives salt and water. Salt is neutral in nature. That is why we call it, this reaction is neutralization reaction. One example I am giving you, like KOH plus H2SO4. This is base, this is acid, it gives K2SO4 plus water. We are going to balance it, 2H2. Okay, so this reaction is called neutralization reaction. And also children, like when acid react with metals, one thing also you keep in your mind, When acid reacts with metal, they also give salt and hydrogen gas. Salt and hydrogen gas. In this case, here acid is reacting with metal. Here this is neutralization reaction, but this is what? Here acid is reacting with base, but when acid reacts with metal, it gives salt and hydrogen. So the reaction is, suppose magnesium. When magnesium react with hydrochloric acid or zinc react with hydrochloric acid, it will give zinc, magnesium chloride, or we will take zinc chloride plus hydrogen gas. Okay, so this is the reaction when acid reacts with metal. Now we are going to discuss how we give the names to the salt. The name of the salt is derived from the name of the metal and the non-metal. Like this is salt. This is salt. The metal part is this and the non-metal part is this. So how are we going to take this, the name of this salt? First metal, then non-metal. Potassium sulfate, zinc chloride. Okay, first we take the name of metal, then non-metal. I am giving you some example: sodium sulfate, copper sulfate, calcium carbonate, ammonium chloride and potassium nitrate. Now children, we are going to discuss about soil. Okay, by earthworms, what is weathering? First, what is weathering? What is weathering? Weathering is the breaking down of huge pieces of rocks into smaller pieces by the action of natural forces such as water, glacier, wind and roots of plants. First we are going to discuss how the roots of trees, they help in breaking of rocks. Roots of trees growing through rocks exert great pressure on the rocks. This causes cracks in the rocks leading to weathering. Now come to the children, soil profile. What is soil profile? Children, soil profile in this, like if we dig the deep hole in the ground, such like we will notice that the soil changes color as one goes deeper. The size of the bits of rocks changes too. The main layers of soil are topsoil, subsoil and parent rock. First we will discuss what is topsoil. Topsoil, children, contains humus and the smallest particle of rocks form the upper layer of this soil, which we call topsoil. So it contains what? Humus and small particle. The presence of humus gives it a dark color. It is the layer containing the most nutrients for plant. The roots of most plants are confined to this layer. Humus makes this layer porous and fertile. Topsoil. Second is subsoil. Or we also call it B horizon. This is the layer below the topsoil. Subsoil does not have much humus and is therefore light in color than the topsoil. It is made up of mostly rock beds and some nutrients such as soluble mineral and iron oxide. And children, rainwater collects in this layer. Third is parent rock or sea horizon. Parent rock or sea horizon. Below the subsoil is the parent rock or sea horizon, which consists of small pieces of rocks with cracks and crevices. The particles of rock found in soil come from weathered rock in the sea horizon. Below this there is bedrock. Below this is solid rock, is called bedrock. It is non-porous. Rainwater gathers over it to form the water table. Now children, we are going to discuss types of soil. Three types of soil: sandy soil, loamy soil. Types of soil. Okay. According to the size, we have divided the soil in three parts: clay, silt, and sand. The particle of clay very tiny, less than 0.002 millimeter. Silt, the particle size between 0.002 to 0.2 millimeter, and the sand has the largest size particles. Okay, and children, if we discuss the type of soil, like sandy soil has a lot of sand in it and very little clay and silt is there. It is found it holds more air but less water. Second is, it is not very good for plant because it holds less water but more air, not very good for plant. Second is clayey soil. The particles are very fine. It holds more amount of water but cannot hold air, so this is also not very good soil. Third is what? Loamy soil. Loamy soil contains very good amount of like sand, clay and silt also along with humus. So sand, because of sand it holds good amount of air, because of clay it holds good amount of water which plants require, and because of humus plants get nutrients. So this is the best topsoil for growing plant. Okay, again I am telling you, loam is a mixture of sand, silt and clay and also has humus in it. It has the right water holding capacity for plant growth. It also has adequate spaces between the soil particle to trap air required by the roots of the plants. Okay children, that's all. Thank you.